City Council meeting of December 17, 2019 has come to order. Can we please stand up for Pledge of Allegiance? And Sergeant Kang, would you lead us in Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You would please remain standing for a moment of silence for our military and first responders that got killed in the line of duty. You would join me now. Thank you.
May I have a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista.
Present.
Councilmember Aguilar.
Present.
Councilmember King.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Present.
Mayor Samra.
Present.
For the record, council members, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor are in attendance.
Thank you. There was no closed session, so there are no closed session announcements. Council, change it to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to announcements and reports. Supervisor Rodrigo Espinoza, I saw him. Anything to report? If not, then we can skip and we'll let him come back later. That's fine. Okay, staff announcements and reports. We'll start out with the fire department. Anything to report tonight?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you. Brian White, Delhi Battalion, Battalion 19, City of Livingston Fire Department. So our annual emergency activity report for November, we responded to 71 medical aids, 3 vegetation fires, 3 vehicle accidents, 1 vehicle fire. We did have 1 debris fire, 1 alarm sounding. We had 3 firefighter standbys and 5 public assists with 0 hazmats. Along with the county incidents, we had 15 medical aids, 5 vegetation fires, 16 vehicle accidents, 2 vehicle fires, 4 structure fires, 2 debris fires, 4 alarm soundings, and 0 standbys, public assists, or hazardous material releases. In summary, we have a total for 2019, we're at 1,680 responses. That's going to be 1,024 within the city limits. Into the county, we're at 656. Our PCF response to incidents is 67%, which is really well. It's really good for a PCF response. Incidents within the Livingston initial area is at 81%, and then our call volume is up 9.2, almost 10% from last year. Some of the trainings that are going on right now in the county, we have our paid staff is involved with our violent incident response. We've been working really well with OES and some of the other players in Merced County to train on violent incidents and how we would respond in active shooters. They had training on Thursday where they were involved. They had an IEP out, and it's gone really, really well. The cooperators are working really well together. In our volunteer world, we've had training in electric vehicle accidents, or such as Teslas, other alternate fuel vehicles, and then patient extrication. The county and some of the other city departments have acquired new hearse equipment, new jaws of life that they've been using out there and being trained on. So it's an upgrade to the equipment on our fire engines. We have upcoming event, Santa visits to schools. This is tomorrow. And the next day we've got Santa will be out with the volunteers engaging with the kids at the schools. This is something that the department does every year. Some of the holiday dangers that we're looking at in the community that we see yearly as the fire department is our Christmas trees. The difference between real trees and some of the fake trees that we have out there. When we're using a real tree, we need to remember that the people need to be watering their tree. These things become very dry when you have lights and all the other ornaments on them and they're inside your house with the heaters on. this can become a hazard. Some of the lit trees, we need to make sure that we're checking the wires for worn spots or frays every year. I'm sure you guys put more and more lights on your tree or connecting multiple strands. When you add multiple strands onto your Christmas tree, you can create a load which causes hazards for your Christmas trees. We want to make sure that we're keeping them 3 feet away from heaters, fireplaces, and candles, and then make sure that we're unplugging our lights when you guys are going to bed. So this is going to be the end of the fire department report. Thank you very much.
Council, any questions for fire department? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Recreation? Anything to report?
I just have a couple announcements. Good evening, everybody. My first announcement would be thanks for the great turnout for the Court of Trees. It was really exciting, and even the community was like, let's do it on a different night. So, so we'll see. We'll have to talk about that, but we had a great turnout. Thank you to the LMS band that showed up. They did a great job, and so I just wanted to announce the winners. We did post it on Facebook, and so when you go out to look at the trees, there's a special certificate on the winning trees, but the best family and friends went to the Del Toro family. Our best club entry was the Lions Club. Our best school entry was Yamato Colony PTA. It's exciting to see how Yamato's getting involved in the community. They've been involved now in different parades, and they're wanting to reach out, so we just got to get the other schools that excited. The most original entry was the Fernandez family. Our best church entry was Faith Word Ministries. Best business was Starbucks. And our community favorite was the fire department. So, good job. The trees will be lit through Christmas Day. So if you haven't been out to enjoy them, make sure you get out there. Our community calendar for Livingston, if you have something to put on it, if you're a nonprofit or a government agency and it involves the community, please bring it to City Hall by December the 31st, or you can email me at jbenoit@livingstoncity.com. And I just want to say a special thank you to our basketball coaches. This has been kind of a hard season. They're having to practice outside one day in the cold, and we've had people drop, and we've had people step up to take their place. But we have over 350 kids involved, and it takes a lot of help from our volunteers. So we just, if you see one, shake their hand and tell them thank you, because we so appreciate them. Our next Rec Commission meeting will be January 11th. We're having a softball, baseball workshop for the rules. And then our regular meeting will be January 23rd. We are having 3 folks that are rotating out. And so we are looking for applicants. And so if you are interested in being a recreation commissioner, January 17th at 5 p.m. is our deadline. And application packets are available at City Hall. And if you don't have any questions, that's all the announcements that I have.
Council, any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
We'll go to Public Works.
Good evening, Council, City Manager, members of the public. I do not have a formal presentation this evening, but I would like to take this time to recognize 2 Public Works employees for stepping up during a time of change and helping lead our operations department. Tommy Mejia, Jesus Chavez, can you guys come up to the front, please? You stand up here. A year ago, I restructured and combined the Water and Sewer Department to form one department, the Operations Department. These two guys were asked to help lead, learn, and teach. They both stepped up, took on extra responsibility with no complaining to help our department meet our internal goals. Both Tommy and Jesus volunteer their personal time as well. They'll review well sites via the SCADA system online. They'll stop by to visit lift stations during storm events just to make sure our equipment's working properly. This is on their own time. Mr. Mejia holds a grade 3 wastewater certification, a grade 2 water and distribution certification, and a grade 2 collections certificate. Tommy also enjoys teaching the newer operators and often helps them study for state exams during his personal time. Mr. Chavez is one of our newer operators and has passed his wastewater 1 test and holds his water and distribution grade 2 certifications as well. He also holds a QAL, which is a qualified applicator's license to spray chemicals. Gentlemen, your hard work does not go unnoticed. Thank you for going above and beyond. Give me a hand clap. You guys want to say anything, you're more than welcome.
I just want to thank you guys for the recognition, and I know Mr. Ramirez, you've always promoted growth and success in the individual, and likewise with Anthony, he's come on board and give us opportunity, and he pushes us every day to be better, and you know, some things we don't see, and he's the extra set of eyes with experience to help, you know, push us in the right direction. So a lot of that stuff I don't think really gets seen behind the scenes what he does, but he puts in a lot of work, and we appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you as well, and I'm happy to serve the community of Livingston, and I'll try to do my best.
That's the end of my report. Any questions?
Council, any question? Thank you. Police Department, Chief, or Sergeants? Okay, well, we'll do engineering then.
I'll be quick. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. Just to let you all know that we opened bids for the TCP project for wells 14 and 16 this afternoon. Received 4 bids, and the low bid was about 2.8 million, which was a really good bid for this project. They ranged from 2.8 to about 3.5. Our estimate was about 3.3. So that just happened this afternoon. We'll review the bids, and we'll likely bring it to you folks for an award first meeting in January. That's all I have. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Council, any questions for engineering? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Congratulations, Tommy and Jesus. And Jesus, thank you for keeping the Chavez name forward. You keep. It's always good to hear that Chavez, you know, is doing something. So, and congratulations to the fire department on your tree. Now, you know, I know you guys don't like live trees, so I don't know if anybody expected to make sure it wasn't a fake tree, but I think maybe we need to make sure that. Congratulations. Good job. If I could bring my PowerPoint up, please. Thank you, thank you. Coffee with a Cop. There was a lot of folks there. In fact, I think our city clerk was there enjoying a cup of coffee. And this was actually something that was implemented by our California Highway Patrol. You see Officers Zanuga and Tipler there. But Officer Godfrey is the regional representative for the Special Olympics, so he's been actively involved in a lot of the events that take place involving the Special Olympics. So it was actually a great time to get to talk to a few folks and have a cup of coffee, and they coincidentally had some donuts out there. So, oh, there's our city clerk. He's having a little cup of coffee, and he does look kind of guilty. Tony, anything about? Sergeant Ramirez attended the tree lighting ceremony for the Kayla Millard family up in Petaluma. As you know, the family in Petaluma benefited from a donation of a organ from the McKinnon family here in Livingston, and so it's always nice to go up there and represent the department, and they're the ones that assist Santa in getting some bicycles for our youth. So it's a great time to go up and listen to the ceremony and watch the lighted balloons go up in the air and then light the tree. So I want to thank Sergeant Ramirez for taking that on. Cause for Kids. Santa was in here last week giving out toys to all the youth, and it was a great time, a lot of fun, a lot of great pictures. I want to thank our officers that came out. TJ Domi was there, Sergeant King, Corporal Kirk. We had some elected officials, our mayor and Councilmember King. Our mounted officer, Joe Cruz, as always, does a great job with Lobo. And Tony from Recreation really helped Santa with those gifts. Thank you. Thank you. And so we can't do a program like this without our wonderful staff. I want to give extra kudos to three special people: Deanna Soria, Maribel Arevalo, and Kristen Hell, who really took it on and did so much. There's so much behind the scenes work that goes on to make this a successful program. So I want to thank them for their hard work. As you may know, we have officers that have adopted schools by their squads, and they attend schools on a regular basis to talk to the kids and have lunch with them, play in the playground, and read to them. So there's Officer Godfrey, one of the schools, and then some of our other staff, the corporals, and Officer Becerra and Jason Barkus, Corporal Villarreal and Kirk. Today was a ribbon cutting for the fabulous Campus Park Head Start facility on Park and 6th, and I really didn't know what, I'd seen the building, I didn't know what it was, and it was really neat to watch them cut the ribbon and go and take a little tour with all the little kids running around, and obviously our mayor and the superintendent from the Merced County Office of Education, Superintendent Steve Tegens was there with our superintendent Andres Zamora. So, and then school board member Rigo Espinoza was there also. So it was a really neat event. Just heads up to our residents. After school lets out and comes back, we'll have our officers out there enforcing some of the violations that occur out around the schools as a reminder to make sure we have everybody properly seatbelted and slowing down the schools and watch the pedestrians. And on that same note, we are going to have our first traffic safety committee meeting in January. It'll be January 15th, and we'll meet at the police department. There's about 9 members on the committee, and I want to thank them all for being part of that. And we'll work closely with Public Works and our engineering and identify those locations that people have issues with and complaints, and see if we can make them better. We have one of the things that is near and dear to our heart as public safety is being safe, but also ensuring that our schools and facilities are safe. So we have ongoing active shooter training. A couple weeks ago, we had two SWAT officers from San Jose PD come out and do some building search and room clearing tactics. We were going to use our Sims house at the range, but it was actually raining that day, so we used the police department, and it worked out very well. They did a great job and pass on some of their knowledge on responding to incidences involving active shooters. December 19th, which is this Thursday, there's a countywide exercise that's going to occur, and we have the entire law enforcement community in the county responding to that event. There'll be different scenarios, and we're going to send 2 officers to each of the morning scenarios to participate. Sergeant Ramirez has been active in attending those meetings to ensure that we're ready to respond and participate in that exercise. And then May 16th, next year, the Tracy Police Department is putting on active shooter training for dispatchers. Again, something that is important, but not as well publicized as those opportunities and for our dispatchers. And so that's going to be, we're going to be sending 3 dispatchers that training. No, this is some photos from the active shooter training we hosted here. And then using our hallways to practice some of the things that they learned. Attended the promotion ceremony for CHP Chief Sam Samra. You might recognize the name. He's related to our mayor. And what I didn't know is that he has a brother named Ron. And so got a chance to meet him. He works for the Department of Fish and Wildlife. So it was a neat event. And then Warren Stanley, it was very nice to have him come down all the way from Sacramento to Fresno to be part of the ceremony, and it was really special. One of the things that continues to be something that we work on is our response to illegal fireworks. As you may know, we've had lots of the illegal fireworks and complaints. Along the same lines, we also have some residents that have expressed some heavy concerns because of some of the issues that they're dealing with PTSD. And so we've asked CAL FIRE to see if that's something they can help with. We totally expect some illegal fireworks to go on during New Year's Eve. So just throwing out there, and if council has any comments or questions on that, I'd like to hear them, because we'd like to really get behind this and see if we can enforce some of those illegal fireworks. And I'm working closely with Anna Caballero on maybe putting together some legislation to impact that further. Explorers, they're training for some competition that's going to occur in, I think it's March of next year. And we have one of our retired officers, Alan Condente, be part of that. And he's volunteering his time to train the kids and get ready for that. And something that the council will be invited to, because we are actually going to host this competition in our town for that event. Usually it's held in Merced, and we're going to host that one. So we'll make sure we keep you abreast on what's happening and ensure that you're invited to that and be part of that. Our animal control officers responded to a lot of complaints of roosters along Hammett. And she's actually issued 3 citations and went to court, and the judge asked if the roosters were gone, and they were not. And so the offenders got a couple weeks to get rid of all the roosters or be subject to significant fine on that. So she's working closely with our captain to ensure that those roosters, that residence meets the compliance for animals. And again, in our city, roosters are not allowed. So we're going to ensure that residence is in compliance. One of the things I just got a final notification I'm very excited about, our MAPS officer at the middle school. There was some things that were changed in the contract involving the language for indemnification and insurance. And it was one of those situations where we almost lost our school resource officer at middle school. So we had to meet with, and I really want to thank Andrea Zamora and Steve Tegens for working with us on that. It's something that's going not only here in Livingston, but it's going throughout the state. Some of the things that occur at the schools are creating an atmosphere where their language is being very stringent on what's being covered. And so met with Jim Brown for the county, and we got pretty much the final piece in place to ensure that program continues. And we are going to contract directly with the county, or with the school district, and the county will continue to support this program. And lastly, just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We'll be things are kind of slow next week, but again, in a couple weeks when school's back in session, just be safe around the schools.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go back to Supervisor Espinoza. You had stepped out, but Supervisor Espinoza?
Excuse me. Good evening, Council. Well, first I want to start off with LAFCO. We had a meeting, was it last week? Regarding...
You're going to take mine away, right? Okay.
I know. So I know the mayor is with me on LAFCO. It's the Land Agency Formation Commission of the county, where any districts, water districts, where cities have to grow, expand, or out of service additions, it has to come through the committee of LAFCO in the county. And so the mayor and myself are in that committee. And so we approved the water line extension for the city of Livingston to provide water out to the Livingston Farmers Association out on Olive. And so that was granted. They went through a long process to be able to take drinking potable water out there. So it's approved, and hopefully they'll be able to have drinking water out there for the employees. Water does not include for the processing, only for drinking for up to 100 employees. So the regular well water has arsenic, so out there, so they're only going to use it to process the sweet potatoes or other stuff. So also too, I also attended a LAFCO conference a couple months ago, and one of the things was on there was regarding let me see here, discuss whether irrigation districts should take over PG&E areas around the state, which has become a big issue with PG&E failing to maintain all the infrastructure around the state. So we'll talk about that as well too. And SB 200, which is low affordable income funds for small counties or small cities that to provide better drinking water for their communities or disadvantaged communities. Let me go to Coffee with a Cup. I attended, like the chief stated, I got there a little bit late, but I was able to attend Coffee with a Cup here at Jack in the Box. And there was, of course, some CHP officers, some of our police officers, and probation department from the county, and as well as CAL FIRE. So it was plus some residents, and I was able to talk to some of the residents there and thank everybody for being there as well. On the 13th, I attended the Planada Seniors Christmas party mostly for seniors. It was attended well by 80 to 100 seniors, and they had raffles and all. Santa was there, and it was a very nice event. Also on the 13th, on Friday, last Friday, I attended the Delhi Christmas parade. It's not in my district, but since I grew up in Delhi, I like to attend that parade. And starts in the El Capitan School and then goes through town and all the way to Harmony School. So a lot of the teachers that work in Delhi live in Livingston. So and we went to school with a lot of them. So it was a nice parade. And also on Saturday, I attended the Planada parade. Today we give out service pin awards for some of the county employees, and there was Sergeant Mark Taylor, which is received his 25th service pin for being 25 years in the county. And Scott Pettigrove retired again. He came out of retirement to help the county on Human Service Agency, and we thanked him for that as well too. So plus about another 10 employees. Trying to remember from the past meetings. I had a couple meetings. Oh, revenue sharing. I know that about a month ago we approved the revenue sharing on the contract on the side of the county, but also too I've reached out to the existing council to make sure that hopefully you guys can, if you guys would like to have a meeting with me or anybody else from the county, we'd like to sit together and discuss if you guys want to put it back on the agenda and make any changes, modifications, or decide to approve it as it is. So the county went ahead and approved it the way the contract that we had kind of like had agreed on, but I know that the council has second thoughts on a couple issues. So, but if you'd like a little bit more discussion, I'd be glad to give you a little bit more information or potentially, so that way if you want to go ahead and put it back on the agenda and modify it the way you want. So if you can always ask the city attorney some questions. I also too like to say that that unfortunately, I know Councilmember Aguilar was not there at the Merced County Association of Governments meeting in Los Palos last month. I put forward to change the meeting times of the meetings, and this is my third time. Ever since I was mayor of Livingston, I did it a couple times, and then, I put it there again, and it failed 5-5. And of course, they always say that not enough people come to the meetings. Well, usually one or a few people come to the meetings, and then eventually they don't come, or for a few meetings they come a lot, and then eventually they don't come back. But that's not the point. The point is that I stress that people want to come to be able to, if they want to come at, anytime they want to come at after work, after 5 o'clock, you guys can come. And that's what's important. And that's why the city of Livingston has the meetings at 7 o'clock. I know some of the meetings, actually that meeting went on for 4 hours, but that's not the normal. The normal is hour and a half, 2 hours. And I know even though it rotates around the county to all the cities, I don't think that having a meeting or every other meeting can be the ones in the county, at least in downtown Merced, can be at 5 o'clock. So, and that's the problem too. With Board of Supervisors meetings, we had them last week and today. We had them at 10 o'clock in the morning. So most of the public cannot come and attend the meetings. If there's, we handled millions of dollars that we approve on contracts with different companies, and the general public cannot see that. Well, only on televised, after the fact, but people don't want to see after the fact. People want to come in and voice your opinion on an issue, then you can. So that's just all I got today. So I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. Que todos tengan una feliz Navidad y Año Nuevo. Si tienen preguntas, por favor llámeme. If you have any questions, please call me. Council, any questions? Or
Council, any questions? Thank you, Supervisor.
okay, thank you.
Okay, going back to Mr. Silva, anything to report or any? No? Okay, Mr. Sanchez? Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Honor Mayor, Council, and public, I do have a few items. One, I had mentioned to the council that I've been working with Foster Farms on the point of sale component, and they've been very, very helpful. And so I did get, we actually asked for a white paper from HDL, which are our tax consultants, and they did provide it. And so I forwarded that over to Mr. Huber, and we're going to follow that up just to see what options are out there for us to be able to generate a little bit more money here and therefore be a win-win, not only for Foster Farms, but for the city. So we're looking forward to that. In addition to that, on the, we finalized everything as it relates to the train and the U.S. bank note, and so our projects will get started probably the very beginning of January and take probably be over with around summertime. So all of the different upgrades that we're going to be doing to our HVAC units are very frequency drives and a lot of the LED lighting. So it's going to be great. That's all I have for now, unless you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any council, any questions of Mr. Ramirez? If not, I'll, Councilmember Baptista, anything to report?
I attended the Court of Trees. It was a really nice gathering for our community. It was good to see the schools out there participating, and those that did purchase a tree out there. Thank you very much for supporting what our city has to offer when it's out there, and I'm just so glad that it was able to take place. I also attended the VFW dinner on Saturday. There was also a visit from Santa Claus. And just want to let people in the community know that the VFW is active. They do have several activities that go on. One of them is a writing contest, which will be taking place March and throughout next year, and scholarships are available for that. And I'm going to make it a point to hit all the schools. I don't mean hit all the schools, but go to all the schools and distribute some applications for the writing programs that they do have. And these are nationwide opportunities for our students. We also have two of the girls, they represent the VFW that participate in a Miss Independent Scholarship Program. They will be going out on Saturday to the Dignity Health, the pediatric ward, and distributing out some stockings to the children and reading, as well as going to the some senior centers and spending some time with residents in those areas. That's about it.
Thank you. Councilmember Regular?
I have nothing to report. Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Councilmember Kang?
Yeah, I got nothing to report.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I don't have anything to report at this time.
For me, I just want to give an advance that because of holidays and lack of agenda, there will be no meeting on January 7th. But we'll have some, depending on how things go, it might be some workshops, but we'll leave that loose for now. And then also, Supervisor took my thunder about out-of-boundary service for LFA, but I do appreciate your support. It was good for the city and everybody else to help them. And outside of that, I just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas and the best of safe and sane New Year. Don't light up any fireworks, you know. I know that police department will be out there, so let's not ask for forgiveness later, you know. So let's just be good with it. And with that, we'll move on to citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows the members of the public to address the city council on any item not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with the state open meeting laws. No action will be taken by the city council this evening. For items which are on the agenda this evening, the members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the city council as each item is up for discussion. Anybody wish to make any citizens' comments at this time?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Mario Mendoza. I was previously planning commissioner for the city of Livingston about roughly 7 years. About a year ago, I ran for the college board, and now I'm in the college board. Now, I reside in Delhi, and I'm running for District 4 County Supervisor. And I just want to say thank you to you, the council member, the previous council, for all the knowledge that I gained being here in the city. And hopefully I'll be in contact with you guys, and if I win and the sister city next door, we could do something together and move on with great expectations in the future.
Okay, Mr. Mendoza, well, I do want to thank you for your previous service with the city. We really appreciate that. And the best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you so much. You guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the citizens' comment?
Hello, good evening, Mayor, council members. Can you hear me?
Can you just put the
Okay,
mic down? There you go.
There you go, I'm short. Good evening, and I'm Lisa Sanchez, and I'm at 1576 Montecito Drive here in Livingston, and I just want to say to the city manager, thank you very much, and to the chief of police, and I would like to say to the members, the citizens of Livingston, that when you ask of something that you think is crucial for the city and a change needs to be made, it can be, and if you put it in, ask for it properly, it will get done. I'm a little nervous. The city manager made sure that, and the chief, where is he? Police, made sure that they corrected for us citizens a proper, I don't know how to explain it exactly. You might want to help me, but the limit line for driving to the stop sign, come on up here and help me out. And I didn't know I'd get a laugh. And if you could explain what you did for me.
Well, first of all, thank you for those comments, and also Public Works had a lot to do with that, because they're the ones that striped the line.
Raise
but
your hand.
There he is,
Oh, thank you very much. What's his name?
Anthony.
Anthony?
Yeah.
I'm Lisa Anthony.
Can I give Anthony? Give
Thank you, Anthony, very much for the contribution. Okay.
So it was pointed out that there was a couple intersections that the limit line was a little bit from the curb line of the street that they're approaching. And so it created a situation where it was hard to see traffic coming. So basically, looking at the best resolution was to move the line up a little bit, still making a safe approach. And as always, we like our residents, when they come to the intersection, look both ways. If, in the way the vehicle code is written, that if you don't have a clear view both directions, you can actually pull up a little bit. But this situation, we actually helped them out by moving the limit line up. Still being safe, but then they can had a better view of traffic coming in either direction.
And
if
that
that's
was at Gans and Peach, as well as Briarwood. Is that a street? I think it's.
Yeah, it was
Briar-
Emerald and Peach, and then
No.
Robin and something else. Right?
Wasn't it Gans and Peach?
Yeah, Peach.
Okay. And so I'm just saying, you can put it in, and I felt really good that it happened, and it really dug up the street, and I was like, what? Really? And I guess they had the funds to do it. And so that's where your tax dollars went, and I was really happy about that. And also, you can write the president, and you'll get responses too, believe it or not. I just want to throw that out. I've done it, and things have happened. So appreciate it once again, and thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Okay. Anybody else for citizens' comment?
My name is Adnan Bat, 1623 9th Street. I just want to let the council and the mayor know that I don't really think you guys should reconsider the county-city agreement as Rodrigo presented to you guys. I think you guys made the right decision. I think you guys should just leave it at that. I think it's best for everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else? Since no one's moving forward, citizens' comment is now closed. Moving on to consent agenda. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial. Will be enacted by one vote unless a separate action requested by city manager or city council member. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a specific member of the city council or city manager requests that specific item be removed. Item number one, this is approval of the warrant register dated December 12, 2019. Number two, approval of the minutes meeting held November 19, 2019. Any discussion, council? If not, I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Kang. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Moving to discussion and potential action items. This is item number 3, receive direction from the City Council to initiate Prop 218 notice. The process for the, to proposed water and wastewater rate increases. This is only related to the initiation of the process, specifically sending out the 45-day notice advising tenant and property owners of the proposed rate. Protest procedures and date of the public hearing. No rates will be imposed or decided at this evening. So do we have a presentation at this time? So Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council and public, thank you very much for, I noticed that several of the individuals received notices, and we're very happy that you're here. So Catherine Hansford, who's our consultant, will be going over a presentation tonight about the utility rate study. But a little further information, we do plan on having a series of workshops in English and Spanish and also in Punjabi. We also plan on actually taking the report and translating those also in the various languages. So if you do want a copy, either emailed to you or printed out, we're more than happy to provide that to you. We will, there'll be a notice, depending on what council direction, we'll be sending out notices on when these workshops will take place. And then you don't have to necessarily wait for the workshops. You're more than welcome to call City Hall, call me, you can come over, and we're more than happy to go over everything. We want to educate and inform our community, and so the last go-around was very fruitful, so we're open to that again. So if you have any questions, don't think that, there is no wrong question, so you just ask it. If you have a question, we're more than happy to take a pause and give you the information, okay? So with that, we have Catherine here this evening, and we have a PowerPoint presentation for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So this utility rate study includes 3 of the city's enterprise funds. It's water, wastewater, and solid waste or garbage services. So the first portion of this presentation is on the solid waste fund. So just some general findings looking at the financial health of this fund. These solid waste rates pay for the Jilton contract and city-provided services. So the city provides street sweeping services, and it provides management of solid waste, but Jilton is the company that actually comes around to all of your homes and collects the trash. The city doesn't do that, so that's under contract. So about 80% of what you pay for goes directly to Jilton for providing you with the service. So currently the fee collections are greater than the operating costs, and that means that the fund is financially healthy. This fund is built up about a 9-month of operating costs reserve. So it's very healthy right now, and there's a lot of potential costs coming up, but some of this reserve can be used up, and that reserve can be drawn down to around 4 months of operating costs. So we looked at the rates back in 2013 and projected where the fund would be today. And what we found is that it's got a little bit more money in it than we had projected. And the reason for this is that there's slightly lower expenses than were projected. There were no large capital expenditures that were necessary. And the Jilton contract expenses were a little higher than projected, but the city costs were a little bit lower, so overall a little bit lower. Also, revenues were a little higher than projected, and that's directly attributed to a growth in the number of services. So a number of new homes, number of new businesses that come to the city. Revenue requirement is the term, it's the key term really for these rate studies, and that's, it says how much money needs to be collected every year in rates or monthly fees. And that is total operating costs less a few credits. It's not much, but there might be some money that comes in from other governments, for example. There might be a grant. There's also a little bit of interest that comes in, some late fees, and just a few other small miscellaneous revenues. So as I said, about 75 to 80% of the total costs each year are for the Jilton contract. Okay, and the Jilton contract can increase each year per their contract with the city by the Consumer Price Index and or by increased landfill costs with the Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority. This diagram shows the projected increase in the revenue requirement over the next 5 years. So for this fiscal year, it's projected a total of $1.3 million is needed to operate the system, provide the services, and by 2025, that would increase to $1.8 million. Shown in orange, there's that 75 to 80% of costs going to Jilton. The blue is personnel costs at city to manage this service. And gray, there's a few other miscellaneous costs. So you see the black line is how much money the city currently collects through rates from all the customers. And the blue line going up is the amount of money that's projected to be needed over the next 5 years from rates. Okay, with the increase in the user fees, the city can address what's called Senate Bill 1383. So this is a set of new laws that the city will have to come into compliance with. Although it's not all completely yet ironed out, there's going to be costs associated with it. So with the projected growth in number of services and with how much money is existing in the fund, the city should be able to address the costs associated with this new implementation, new program. The projected cash flow incorporates $100,000 each year for additional spending on this new program. This table shows current and projected monthly rates for the most common of services. So, for example, single-family residential is a once-per-week pickup. For multifamily and commercial, majority of those services are also once-a-week pickup. There's also a new service shown underneath multifamily and commercial, says organic spin. That's part of SB 1383 as well. So the new rates were proposed to be effective beginning May of 2020. And actually for solid waste, it's proposed that the rates would not change next year because the fund is in a very healthy position. There's no need to raise the rates for solid waste this next year. But for the next following 5 years, it would increase. So for example, if you have a single cart, I know you have two, but I'm just showing you for the 96-gallon cart, that's $25.16 a month. That would go up not next year, but the following year to $26.04. So these are the most common of the different rates. And you can see if you're thinking about it in terms of percentage increases, again, 0% increase next year, 3.5% the year after, 4% the year after that, 4.5%, and then 5% and 5% increases. This graph shows the projected cash balance for the fund. So again, we're starting on the left-hand side of the graph where the cash fund balance, it's very healthy. You can see it's, in terms of these bars, it looks high. And then you can see that being drawn down over the 5 years. So if that cash wasn't being drawn down, the rates would have to go up by more. But there's enough money in there to be able to just take some of that each year and not have to raise the rates by as much. Okay, so that was the solid waste fund. This is the domestic wastewater rate study. Wastewater is also known as sewer service. So it's what leaves your home. So for for wastewater, the current fee collections are greater than operating costs. The wastewater fund has about 5 months of operating costs in reserve, and the minimum target level is 4 months. So it's healthy, but it's not excessively healthy. There is a need to raise the rates for projected costs and to adjust the rates to reflect for cost of service changes. So what happens over time is that the customer base shifts a little bit as you get new growth in the city, maybe get some more commercial businesses. The new hotel is a good example of this. The amount of flow and what is in that wastewater that has to be treated at the plant changes over time. So the cost of service captures what that changes over time. So the revenue requirement for the sewer, the operating costs are increased each year 4.6%. So if you think about inflation, each year, when you buy goods at the store, it costs a little bit more each year to go and buy it. And the same thing happens when the city provides these services. They need replacement parts for their trucks, and they need new filters, and all these different components that the price of all of those things are going up. Plus, personnel costs are going up over time. So that's what that 4.6% is. There's also some replacement equipment and vehicle purchases. And then a fairly large projection to replace a lot of old sewer lines. So there's no big capital costs in the sewer fund, but there's a lot of old pipe there that needs to be replaced, and so you want to keep your system in good working order. There's no new debt service anticipated for this fund. And there's also a few credits, just like I mentioned, for solid waste as well. So this graph shows the revenue requirement. The black line shows how much money is being collected currently. And then the green line shows how much would be collected every year if the rate increases were to be approved. The blue shows operating expenses. The orange shows existing debt service, again, nothing new. Then that gray is the system rehabilitation and the vehicle. There's 2 vehicles that would be replaced as well. This graph shows how much it costs for the city to treat the different, what we call strength of wastewater that's received at the treatment plant. So if you think about it in a very, very simple way, your schools and your homes generate a strength of wastewater that is not as difficult to treat as a lot of businesses and light industrial manufacturing types of businesses. There's probably some chemicals going to the plant that a home wouldn't generate, that kind of thing, fats and oils and greases from restaurants and things like that. Okay, I mentioned the cost of service and the change in the customer base over time, and there has been some change in the city, so I needed to update what are called the flow and the strength parameters, and that's what allocates the costs between the different users of the system. And because of those changes, there are some customer rates that need to be increased more than others in that very first year. So you'll see that there's a percentage increase applied to all of the customer groups after the first year, but in that first year of change, some of them will be greater than others. And so for a couple of them, just to try and smooth that out a little bit, I took the change between now and that second year of rates so that there's not a jump or a bump in their rates from one year to the next. This is the calculated rate schedule. Again, rates would be effective in May of 2020. For a single-family home, currently, the bill is $43.84. And so in May of 2020, that would increase to $45.99. And it would increase each year. So by 2025, it would be $58.51. This is the projected cash balance. The blue bars show the projected balance, and the orange line shows what is a target level of 4 months of operating expenses. So you can see in the first couple of years, it's projected that the cash balance might dip just a little bit below what the target is. It's not a minimum, it's just a target. But then the reserves would creep up to be about 4 to 5 months or so of expenses. This graph compares monthly wastewater bills in Livingston with surrounding communities. And what it shows is that currently at $43.84 for a single-family home, that's about in the middle of the range. And with an increase to $45.99, it's still within the middle of the range. So communities with higher rates include Riverbank, Patterson, Fireborough, Oakdale, Lathrop, and Houston. This table is a little complicated. Really, the gist of it is that what is considered affordable, and I know that affordable is different to different people. So what I've used here is just what the state defines as affordable. And to the state, if your wastewater bill is up to 1.5% of the median household income of the community, it's considered to be affordable. So currently, the bill is just under 1%. With the increase, it would be just over 1%. So in terms of the state, when they look at Livingston, they would say you have affordable wastewater bills. And I've got a few graphs here to show what the impact is they're just sample customers. So residential, because that's the same for everybody, and for the church, it's the same for all the different churches and community centers, because they flat rate every month. Again, $43.84 up to $45.99, and it increases. And for the churches, there's a little bit more of a jump. They're actually going from $42.28 and jumping up to $47.94. And so the reason for that is looking at the water use patterns of the different customer groups and determining the best estimate of how much of their water use is going down to the sewer treatment plant. This is a gas station and a middle school. It's really, I just put those two on the same graph because of the scale of their bills. So you can see them both going up at a fairly even rate each. This is a convenience store and a hotel. So hotel, their monthly rate does, it's per unit, I should say, per room, per hotel room. And then this is, actually the graph is for an annual wastewater bill. So it's picking one hotel and it's showing what their bill would be annually. All right. And then the third rate study is for water. Okay. For water, the current fees are greater also than current operating costs, but this has been very deliberate. So the city has known for several years that there's a lot of large cost capital improvement projects coming up in the next few years. So 5 years ago, when the rates were raised, it was to raise money for a lot of those projects. They haven't all taken place. So some of that money is still sitting in the fund, but it's going to be used very soon. There is a capital improvements plan of $24.56 million over the next 5 years. An observation is that the industrial customers keep the water use more steady through the year than in most Central Valley communities. So I saw in a lot of communities up and down the Central Valley, when they went through the drought, some real difficulties with having enough revenue. And Livingston is quite fortunate because one customer is responsible for 65% of the annual water fund revenue, and that customer is very consistent, and that water use continues throughout the year. They certainly do their part in terms of cutting back and following all the water conservation requirements, but it's actually of benefit to the city to have that customer. There are no proposed changes to the rate structure. But there are proposed changes to the amounts of the rates. So this table shows the total capital improvements costs, and it also shows the funding source, or the anticipated funding source at this time. So there are new wells, there's conveyance and treatment for each of those wells, which they're very large projects. There's also a large water line replacement project, a park surface water irrigation project, and then some server upgrades, which is more minor. You can see right there in the middle, that well 14 and 16, there's a $4 million loan from the state. That's a secured loan. That's already been, there's already a financing agreement for that. And it's expected that wells 8 and 9 and wells 13 and 17 can also obtain similar types of loans from the state. So those are the really, really big projects in terms of cost. Well 11 would be funded by Foster Farms under agreement with the city. The other costs would have to be paid for through reserves. Reserves means not only money that's in the fund today, it also means money that comes in through rates over the next 5 years. So very similar to sewer, the operating costs are anticipated to increase 4.5% a year. There are also additional costs associated with water. So there will be additional costs, O&M, it's operations and maintenance, for the new wells that come online. There's also estimated new debt service for those new wells and the treatment, conveyance of those wells that would repay the state the loans for those projects. Okay, so the revenue requirement for water looks a little different. It goes up and down from year to year. And the reason for that is because of large capital outlay that's needed in certain years associated with those large capital improvement projects. The dark blue line that goes straight across is how much money is currently raised, and then the orange line is how much is projected to be raised through changes in the rates. So the idea here is to have a consistent increase in rates over time so that you're not going up and down like this graph is showing, and that you make sure that you are able to pay for the projects as they occur, and then hopefully still be keeping some in reserve in case you have the big emergency, a big pipeline break, that kind of event. Just like with sewer, there's a cost of service component to the rate study. So looking at, does the cost allocation change over time because you have different types of customers in the city? And does it change because of the way that you manage the system too? So do you have more costs that are fixed costs, or do you have more costs that are variable costs from before? And what we found in the study was that about 45% of the costs are really incurred for fixed costs, but in the rate design, which is what the proposed rates are based on, 35% of the costs are put into the monthly service charge. And it's a little complicated to explain, but because of your large water customers, the industrial customers, they have few water meters but very large volume of water that they take. So by shifting from 45% to 35%, it reflects better on the way your system is used by your customers. Okay, so some of the study results. There is an increase in the monthly service charges and for the use charges in all customer categories. There's a slight reduction in the monthly meter replacement fee for the 1.5 inch, the 3 inch, and the 10 inch meters. The reason being that every few years we check with the vendors how much are they actually charging the city to replace meters, and we adjust it. So the projection 5 years ago was just a little bit off for these 3 meters sizes, and the current costs are a little lower, so we made sure that that was reflected in the meter replacement fee. The use rate for the construction water increases proportionately more than the other fees, and that's due to a change in methodology. So as I looked at what other communities are doing for construction water, I wanted to be sure Livingston was in line with how other places are doing it. Construction water is not a property-related fee. That's not something that goes out in the notices, but it's something where usually it's for dust control. When you have a new construction, they'll probably hook up to a fire hydrant. They'll have a separate meter on there so the city can charge them for how much water is actually used. And then the current cash reserves are drawn down for those big capital projects. So here is the projected rates. This is inside city rates. You have a few customers outside of the city, and they do get charged a little higher, 1.5 times the rate for the inside city customers. As you can see, no change in the monthly water allowance. So if you are a typical detached residential home, that's 25,000 gallons a month. For businesses, that's 35,000 gallons a month. There's two flat charges each month. One is the base charge and the other is the meter fee, which is for replacement of the meter. The vast majority of homes have a 1-inch or smaller sized meter. So currently, homes pay $25.13 a month for that. That would increase in May to $28.38. For the meter replacement fee, it's currently $3.05, and that would increase to $3.21. At the very bottom of the table, it shows what the consumption charge is per 1,000 gallons of water, and that's water you use that's above your base allowance. So if you go above 25,000 gallons a month, then you pay a charge per 1,000 gallons that's used. So currently that charge is $1.57, and that would increase to $1.61. Here's the projected cash balance for water. It's really quite difficult to provide this graph with great accuracy. The reason being that projects are planned, but don't always occur when we expect them to. Also, sometimes the city will have to put out money in advance and then be repaid by the state. So you might have a period of time where your cash reserves are getting drawn down. All of a sudden you get a big check from the state, it bounces right back up. So this is a real best estimate at this time of what your cash balance might look like. And you can see again here that dipping up and down. Target is the orange line. So by the end of this 5-6 year period, it should be in that healthy zone. Here's a bill impact for a home in the first year of changes in May 2020. If in the winter time, almost all homes will be below 25,000 gallons of usage, so I put 20,000 on there. So that would increase from $28.18 to $31.59. And in the summertime, just assuming using 35,000 gallons a month, and that would be inside and outside water usage. That would increase from $43.88 to $47.73. Okay, this graph shows now not just the first year, but each of the successive years. So currently, if your home's using less than 25,000 gallons in a month, you're paying $28.18. That would increase in May to $31.59, and then you see, and gradually it would increase each year thereafter. This graph is a comparison with other communities. So City of Livingston's water bills are certainly on the low end of the range. If you look at Newman, Ripon, Los Banos, a lot of communities here you can see have higher rates for using the same amount of water. Again, this table is to demonstrate what the state considers to be affordable, and they actually look at this in great detail when they determine how much money they're willing to give you. And just like I said with the sewer, if they would like to see your rates to be they actually like to see your rates to be around 1.5%. So they consider anything to be really below 2% to be affordable. They like to see it around 1.5%. Livingston's is currently at 0.64%, and that would increase to about 0.71%. This graph shows the impact on the large industrial customer, which is Foster Farms. So this is an annual estimated impact to Foster Farms if the same water as, I think it was from 2017, but the same time period. Under current rates, it was $2.35 million, and that would increase 3% to $2.42 million. And finally, I have one more slide, and this slide shows what would be the combined utilities bill impact, so all three of those utilities together. Again, assuming that the home is using less than 25,000 gallons in a month. It would go from $98.51 to $104.07 in May, and then increasing, so by 2025, it's $129.34. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. I know it's probably a little bit too early, but can you also kind of quickly go through, Jose or somebody, whoever wants to go, is if, when they get the notices and the public notice, how to put in for a protest? If they, can you just quickly, I know we're going to do that in the workshops too, but if you don't mind real quickly, please?
Yeah, that's important. So by law, the city has to send out notices, the public hearing notices. It goes to every single home, business, every customer of the city. And it explains what these rate increases are and what it is to fund. And it explains what your rights are. So if you wish to protest these increases, you can write to the city. You can either hand deliver or you can mail it to the city. And there's 5 pieces of essential information in there which will be explained in that notice. It's your name, your address, what you are protesting, and your name. Sorry, I already said name. You have to sign it. And I might be missing one. But it's all spelled out in the notice, and it is like you can bring it to the city anytime up until that public hearing. And in fact, the city will hold the public hearing. At the end of the public hearing, they announce, does anybody have any protests they wish to submit? So you have right up until the end of the public hearing, turn them in, and then the city clerk will count those protests. And if there is 50% plus 1, so 51% of the total customer base that protests, then the city council cannot go any further with the proposal.
Is that 50% or 51%?
It's 51, so it's 50 plus 1.
So it's not 50% plus 1 ballot, is it?
I think it is.
I think it's 50% plus 1 ballot.
Yes, I think it is.
Not 51%.
Yes,
So
50 plus 1, yeah.
I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that we stay
Yes.
clear on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else to add at this time?
No.
Other than just, of course, the public might have some questions and they would.
I am going to open to the public here.
Yeah, so just to reiterate again, we will have these workshops. You will be receiving something in the mail with the dates. And if you're bilingual, well, we'll invite you to come to those workshops that you understand. So, and again, as I mentioned earlier tonight, don't have to wait for the workshops. You're more than welcome to come by, and we're more than happy to address any questions you might have at City Hall.
Jose, you want to just mention real quick the planned workshops we have coming up in January, just for the record?
Yes. For those of you, what we plan on, depending on what council decides, we plan on having the first workshop on January 15th of this coming year. So that would be in English. So la primera reunión que vamos a tener en cuestión del taller informativo va a ser el día 15 de enero. The next workshop is planned January 16th, which is in Spanish. Entonces, vamos a tener un taller informativo sobre las tarifas en español el día 16 de enero. And then on the 22nd of January, we plan on having a workshop in Punjabi. So anybody who's interested, please come. And so that's where the workshops. If we need to have more, we will. But at least this gives you a heads up in terms of where and when we plan on having the meetings, and they're going to be here. Okay?
And right now, I'm going to open this up to the public. Does anybody wish to make a comment? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Adnan Bath, address 1623 9th Street, here in Livingston. I have a couple questions. You guys got from May 2020 on, but you guys didn't show us anything about what was growing 5 years back. How was the water and everything growing 5 years ago? What led you guys to believe that we need to do an increase? Number two, you guys are comparing everything, and I didn't see Atwater on that list. You guys want to put Livingston in the middle, like you could put anybody in the middle if you're going all the way to Ripon. I mean, how's Atwater doing? When was the last time Atwater had a change? Where's Merced out on that paper? I mean, this is all projected. Let's see what we were doing in the past, what made us get to this point. And I didn't see nothing like this is all projected. All this stuff that she presented might not even happen. So it's just like,
Okay, Mr. Ramirez, on the next slide, we can add Atwater, Merced will be on the next presentation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Beth. As a matter of fact, you know, that's why we have these hearings, because, you know, we'd like to get feedback from the community. In the past, we really have never gone back to look at projections, but if that's a request, that shouldn't be very difficult to do. Hence, because Mrs. Hansford was actually our consultant the last go-around, so we should have access to that and be able to put that together.
okay.
And then your request is, as it relates to adding Atwater and Merced, done, not a problem.
Okay,
I am in agreement with that, just comparing more cities that are in our county.
in our
definitely.
county, not only Atwater, you got Gustain, Dos Palos. I don't even, anything in Stanislaus County, we shouldn't even consider them. We shouldn't even look at them. It doesn't make sense. I mean, we're in Merced County, we're paying, we don't pay nothing to Stanislaus County. They have nothing to do with us, but all those, the slides that I seen, you got all the way up to written to Lathrop. It's like, if I want to put something in the middle, I could bring up a whole bunch of cities, put Livingston in the middle any way I want to. I just got to work the numbers. And that's exactly what it seemed like right here. All the numbers were worked. That's all it was. It was just, you guys wanted to present something your way, and it was presented your way without anything like really backing it up. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
Mr. Bath, I would disagree with that because, well, first of all, Mrs. Hansford, the council didn't have anything to do with what cities, or for that fact, staff, in terms of what cities were picked. You know, she's an independent consultant. She does work up and down, you know, the state and probably some other places. But your feedback is very well taken, and so what we're going to do is add those cities so that, you know, probably adding all of them so that way you guys know what's happening in the region, because we're not a silo. We have to really look at what's happening regionally. So, but I like your input, and so we would like to incorporate all of the cities within Merced County so that you can get a good perspective.
okay, thank you.
And it will be done.
Good evening, Council. Rodrigo Espinosa, out of Livingston. You know, water is a touchy issue. El agua es un problema que ha causado en el pueblo ya recalls. It's been an issue about recalls, right? So, item number 3 says this is only related to the initiation of the process, specifically to sending out of the 45-day notice advising tenants and property owners of the proposed rate increases. So if you guys vote on it today, does that mean that the 45-day process is going to start?
No, it means that we're gonna send out the notices.
Okay.
Yeah, 218, yes, it will start.
So just to reiterate, Supervisor, so today, the 45-day period does not start. That date for the 45-day period would start if council says move forward, won't be until the January 24th is when the Proposition 218 letter is going to go out to the residents. So for right now, this evening, it's just getting authorization from council to be able to send a notice in the mail, letting all of the residents know that these are the workshops that we're going to have, and we're inviting you to those workshops.
Okay. Well, I just want to, I'm asking questions for public knowledge because I remember when we went through the 218 process back in 2010, and there was a recall, and it's very nasty, and it's not good for the public. That's what everybody remembers, and it's very sensitive for the council members to act on. Grupal remembers, and I'm pretty sure everybody else does. So, I just, for that's what I was gonna comment, to make sure that before you guys vote on anything, that you have workshops in Espanol and English, Punjabi. That way everybody has information. That way they can come and ask questions, and preferably at the Portuguese Center, because I know there's not going to be, it's going to be standing room here. So I would ask that you have it at the Portuguese Center or another location, because I'm pretty sure that it'll be packed in here, because it's a sensitive issue, so, thank
Yeah.
you.
And Supervisor, as we both know from previously, these are not etched in stone. These are variables. So if we get a lot of comments that we can't answer on any of these questions, of course, these dates will shift. As we both know, it is better to get the public engaged and their input in the beginning and not at the back end of it, because that's not how it's.
Yeah, before you guys start any 218 process.
Yeah.
Just if you have to have an extra meeting in Spanish, English, and Punjabi, let's have it before. And like I said, it's very touchy, and I'm just trying to be supportive of the council, and
Yeah, here, you can have this, that's so you, if you want, and I'll.
it's okay, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to help,
It's-
thanks.
Okay.
Enrique Medina, resident Livingston. The lady said, hard to explain numbers. I am a number man. I want to see more numbers in here. The wells, how much they produce water, how much the residents are using, how much is the commercial using, what was the population change from all this increase in Livingston. I want to see some more historical on population, so you could see more of the numbers, more vivid and more real.
Anything else?
That's it.
And if you think of something else, please contact the city, that way we're prepared. And this is to get everybody's input, you know, we don't have all the answers or the questions either, so that's what we want.
Right, right. Just by looking at those numbers, cost of living doesn't go that in your job.
Point taken.
Just by looking at those numbers.
Point taken, and
Yeah, cost of living is only 1.6.
please attend all the meetings, okay?
Catherine Shaw Rodriguez, Livingston, California, member of the Utility Rate Stakeholders Committee. Couple of things I want to point out. In 2018, when we first started working on seeing the information that's leading up to these numbers, I was appointed to the committee, and County Supervisor Espinoza volunteered to be on the committee. So, in addition to the members of the council who were appointed to the committee, Mayor Samra was first appointed to the committee as Mayor Pro Tem. And one of the first meetings that we talked about was the brand new legislation coming down from the state having to do with a carcinogenous, a cancer-causing chemical in Livingston's water called TCP 123. The state adopted a limit of 5 parts per trillion. We have wells in the city that produce well over 100 times that. We are out of compliance with the state. And we have about, 2 or 3 years to get into compliance? So a big chunk of that $24 million mess, if you want to call it, has to do with getting our system in shape to address this TCP issue. And I want to address one more thing about it. City councils have known since at least 2004 that this day was coming. They knew in 2004 when testing for TCP was coming up. They knew in 2005 when we sued Dow Chemical and Shell. They knew in 2006 when Foster Farms signed a memorandum of understanding with the city to loan them the money to get filtration on well number 8. So this is not new. This is something that's just been punted down the road and punted down the road and punted down the road. So to now it is 2019. The state has adopted a limit. We are out of compliance, and we got to come up with a whole crap load of money to put filtration on our wells. And we're having to borrow a whole crap load of money in order to get that filtration on the wells. And that is a big reason why, when it comes to on the water side, that our costs are going to have to go up. I have been following this issue since at least 2007, and I've watched as report after report after report after report has been coming up. So this may be new to you in the audience,
Ms.
but
Rubin,
it's not new
3
to some
minutes.
of them.
2 minutes. Anybody else from the public wish to come forward?
I just want to say again, I agree. I agree. Why should we pay more money if the water's not going to be cleaner? Clean the water up, and then we won't have a problem. We won't have protests. We want clean water. I have filter on my refrigerator. I have filter for the sink. You say, not necessary. It is. It is. So clean the water, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
I'm Martha Zamora, and my question is, what is the issue? Why hasn't this been done? I mean, we advance in technology, and yet this thing about water, it can't be taken care of. Or can it be taken care of? And that's just not a high priority. That's my question. Why? Why is this happening? We're so smart, and yet we're so dumb. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, the item for the public comment is now closed. Mr. Ramirez, do you wish to add anything at this time?
Yes. And thank you very much for your guys' question. I'm actually the individual that can share some light specifically in detail on everything you guys brought up. And that's one of the reasons we want to have these workshops. And in addition to the workshops, I welcome you to call me or come and visit me. I've had the great pleasure of serving this community since 2011. I inherited a lot of these issues, and I could tell you that the water that's delivered to your home meets Title 22 drinking standards. Okay, so, but you have to do operation and maintenance on this. There's things that actually, it's just like a car. You have to maintain it. Once in a while, you're going to have to change out the tires because you wore out the tires, et cetera. And so we want to continue to be competitive with other municipalities, that are in our county and in our region, so that we're able to continue to bring in new economic development opportunities. So we have infrastructure. If you noticed, over the course of several years, we're actually in our fourth phase. We're going to go into our fourth phase of water line replacement. A lot of the lines that were in the city here were either cast iron lines, asbestos pipe, or other types of pipes. A lot of the pipes that are now in the ground that have actually been put in the ground since 2011 to date are C900 pipes, which last 100 years. Some of the other pipes don't last, that were back then didn't last as long. And what happens is that these start to deteriorate, so they need to be replaced. Some of these lines, we've been fortunate enough to be able to go after some grants, and then we've actually put in some because of some of our water rates. And one of the things that happens over time is as the city continues to grow and we meet a certain population threshold, we're not eligible for certain funding that's out there. There was a lot of grants that when we were below a certain population, but now that we're beyond that, now we have to scratch our own back. And once in a while we get lucky and we look at other grant opportunities and we grab them. And so that's something that's always on our radar. But I also want to share with you that we were the first city to implement TCP treatment, even before the MCL limit was actually adopted, okay? And so this started back in 2013. However, the cost, it doesn't matter which well or what you do on any of the infrastructure here in town, we're always talking about millions of dollars. And it's like, if we sink a well, it's 1.5 million. If we're gonna put some treatment, just so that you guys get an understanding. On the wellhead, on any type of wellhead treatment, forget about installing it and everything that goes into that. Just the actual filtration. So if you have granular activated carbon, we might have to replace it within a year and a half. That's $200,000 just to replace the filtration, okay? However, my duty for you all here is, number one, stay competitive, stay affordable, and be able to compete with others so that we can attract business here. And then we'll also want to have a diversified water portfolio, because right now the city of Livingston is dependent 100% on groundwater, okay? We don't have any surface water supply. So we're already thinking into the future before any of the other neighbors about tapping water from the Merced River and the costs associated with that. So we've done studies on all of those things. So I really would like to get more deep in the roots, you know, with all of you, to paint the entire picture so you guys can see. And again, our goal is to be competitive and make sure that you guys would get reliable and clean water, okay? So when somebody out there tells you, oh, well, by the way, you say, well, why is it that sometimes I have milky water in your home or brownish water, okay? Well, we're gonna look at trying to eliminate that as much as we can over time. It can't be done overnight, but let me tell you why that happens. We as a municipality have to maintain a 1% to 2% residual of chlorine in your water lines. So remember a little while ago I mentioned that there was cast iron lines, there's some asbestos lines. Well, when that water travels back and forth, okay, as water does, and then especially in some of these dead zones, what happens when you have water that is on some metal outside? What typically happens? It starts to oxidate, correct? Well, in your water, you have iron, okay, natural iron that's in the water, and you have some other elements. And when you have some oxidation in there, that's what goes back and forth. What we have to keep tabs on is making sure that that level doesn't go beyond a certain limit that these state agencies, by the way, regulate us. Every day there's people out there taking samples of everything, and if there's any issues, that information goes to the state directly, and we get it. And if there's a violation, boom, right away they tell us what we need to do. Either shut down the well, or they tell us, send a notice out. But be assured that we want to provide you with drinkable Title 22 drinking standards, which is the block that we have to, and the guidelines that we have to do with the state. And so I'm very happy to be able to engage all of you, whether it be in a workshop or a non-workshop, and please come on out. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any comments at this time? Okay, I'd like to make a comment. There are some good questions posed as, why didn't we just do it? Well, it's also, you need to know that there has been a lot of work done. Lots of lines have been replaced. There are wells that have treatment put on them. And also, in the beginning, we couldn't get any grants because the state was saying your rates are too low. We could not get grants because our rates were too low. And then back in 2008, 2010, I wasn't on the council, but city had decided that they're gonna just do this one giant thing. And when residents found out what the rates are gonna be, there was uproar you wouldn't believe. We had the Portuguese Hall. We had people not attending 10s and 20s, but in hundreds, up in arms and saying, no, you cannot, we don't want you to raise these rates, you know? And people were so upset because we don't want these rates to go this fast, and then, well, then if you can't raise the rates, then you only have so much money to do so many things at a time. And also, be sure that just because the state says our water is not safe, yes, they are correct in some ways. Our water was the same 10 years ago that comes out of the ground. It's just that it's like anything else. State changes the standards. So they force the cities to have to do more and more filtration, and everything there has a cost. As Mr. Ramirez mentioned, sinking a well is about almost $1.9 to $2 million, and then when you test it, say if you got arsenic or TCP or some others, it can add double the cost of that well, and you haven't even pumped out a gallon yet. So there is a lot of things, and to think that city has not done anything, I would disagree with that. City has done a lot. Could it do more? Yes. But then on the other end, we could simply say, you know what, here's what we're gonna do. That $24 million that it's gonna take to put everything, we're gonna do it next year. I bet you if you try to put all the rates, all that at once, people would say, you know what, don't fix our water. We don't want to pay that much money. So it becomes a decision of, no. Some people, it went through that before. We had 2 of the council members were removed from office because they proposed rates, and then 1 came real close to being taken out. So it becomes a working with the community and saying, we need to get to this goal. How do we do it to get that goal and also not be a big hit to our hardworking families? Because for some people, even now they live paycheck to paycheck. $10, $15 increase in rates is difficult for some folks. So we also have to see the human side of it, but this is why we are having what we are. So please, come to the meetings, understand what we're gonna do. If you have a better suggestion, that's what we wanna hear from everybody. We're here to listen to you. You're our bosses, we work for you. We don't work for anybody else, we work for you. So, and then for the last year, when we did have this rate study and the capital improvement, not too many people attended the meetings. I bet you there were some nights nobody was there. You know, we need help from the community as well, and to tell us, hey, here's our ideas, get some input. We are doing our best, and so please, on these dates that we have, on 15th of January, 16th and 22nd, attend all 3. Please come and listen, give us your idea, and let us tell you what we're trying to do to make this better for everybody. Thank you. So, council, any further comments? So this is a direction. So what do you need, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, I would like council direction on sending out a letter, basically notifying the public that we're going to have these series of workshops starting on January 15th.
Okay, council, any discussion? This is not a motion, it's just a, so.
In the notice, what kind of information are you going to provide to the public?
So basically the notice is just very short and sweet, just basically notifying them and letting them know that we're proposing rate increases and that we would like their participation and that these are the dates that we plan on having these workshops. So those individuals who know more than one language can attend several. But anyone is invited to attend all 3, but basically just stating the workshops.
Is there any way to add more information than just a simple notification?
What kind of?
Just kind of what we're trying to do, the reasoning.
Sure, we can make it. We can
more,
make
a
it
little bit more content.
Did you want to share any more information?
Yes, I understand there's that notice for the workshops, but also the direction today would be to have that authorization to send out the Prop 218 notices at the end of January after the workshops.
Well, we can actually do that on the next council meeting,
Okay.
which is the 24th.
Okay.
So we have a council meeting before that date, so we have plenty of time. So at this moment in time, it's just a letter that we can send out letting the public know about the workshops. And we can add some additional information that we'll come up with so that, as Councilmember Aguilar is saying, just add some more information in there. So we'll come up with a more concise letter.
Mr. Aguilar, do you have a suggestion what you'd like to see, or whoever, what they'd like to see added in the letter?
Just in general terms, obviously you can't put the whole PowerPoint or the whole study or whatever, but maybe a little bit more of the reason why we're even discussing an increase in rates will be nice. Just so people have a little bit of background and be prepared to come to those workshops with some questions in mind already.
Oh, and by the way, for the public, we have the proposed rate study already, so you're welcome. We can email it to you. We can provide you a copy, so you don't have to wait until, the end of January to get. We have it already, so you can have it. And by when are we planning on having this in English and Punjabi? Okay, so the Spanish and the Punjabi one should be done probably by mid-January, but at least the English one is available now.
Mr. Mayor, if you will, I'd like to see more educational components in those workshops. Again, when we're talking about the Jilton, the addition of the new bins, educating our public about the uses of them rather than, they're out there, this is what we're paying for, and yet we're using them completely wrong. Or, the drought, we had that, we have to be really conscious about always thinking we're always in a drought. Conserving water throughout our region is important. So again, educating our public on, not wasting water. I see residents, hosing down sidewalks. And again, I guess I call broom, leaf blower, not the water hose. Again, we don't have that kind of water. Again, our groundwater, surface water, a lot of study needs to go into that and educating our public of the differences of where we get our water and where our water is going. It's not just the city of Livingston, it's statewide.
Also, real quick, want to make sure that we include what our residents mentioned earlier about comparing the city with rates from other cities, but here in our county. And then I just want to restate that it's very important that everybody comes and attends those workshops. En español, es muy importante que vengan y atendan estas juntas. Es muy importante que todos digan sus preocupaciones, lo que tienen que decir, ayúdenos. Es algo que como una comunidad tenemos que hacer juntos y hablar y discutir de todo eso. Also, just I would like to see, like somebody mentioned earlier, some to do with like historical figures, what the city has done before, increases from the past, as somebody mentioned earlier, that the city was well aware of this coming down the pipeline. So it'd be nice to see that historical piece in there.
Mr. King? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I got something. I just want to make it clear, I know there's comments out there saying that we, and I take it as the council that's here now, that we had something to do with it in the past. Unfortunately, this happens to fall on our lap now. We've put it off for so long. 4 of us here are fairly new, and I know people are going to criticize us on this. I mean, I don't want our water rates to go up either. However, this is a big decision for us to make. So just keep that in mind, please. That's all.
Okay, so at this time, I need direction. So just say, from each of them, do we move forward with sending out letters? Councilmember Batista?
With the added added
request
information.
Yeah. What is your feeling? Do we move forward with the letter?
Yes.
Mr. Aguilar?
Yes, it's very important that we send this letter out and any of the languages available so everybody is well informed. Any other means of communication to make sure that our community is well informed and hopefully make it Do we have a time for the workshops? Want to make sure maybe they're after people get off of work and
Yeah,
and are able
we're
to
gonna
attend.
schedule them for 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock or, what would you like, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock?
What do you guys think? 6, 7? 7? 7 o'clock
What do you
then?
guys think, 6 or 7? How about 6,
Seven?
raise your hand. 7?
7?
7 it is,
7 it is.
okay?
8, 9? Let's keep 7, 7.
Do you wish to move forward with the letter?
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Kang?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And is somebody raising their hand for something, or, you know, this is very important. Normally, we don't do this, but before I do my final direction, I will go ahead and open it up one more time. So please come forward if you wish to make a comment, because it is important. You already said it.
Okay, my name is Anna Franze, and I moved here like 6 years ago. And ever since I've been here, the water's been disgusting. I mean, I wouldn't even give it to my animals. But are we sure those water dispensers that we're paying 10 cents, 20 cents, that they don't have arsenic in it, just like our water at home? Are you sure? Have you tested it?
Well, keep in mind that those have separate permits, and those are regulated, and,
But you're not positive that
Well-
there's no arsenic?
well, if they were, the state would shut them down, okay? Now, when I say that, let me quantify that, because that's one of the very important things that the public needs to know.
Yes.
When I mention that it meets Title 22 drinking standards, okay, it means that it's not exceeding the maximum contaminant level. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't have it, but it doesn't have it at the point where it would become, problematic for people with health issues and so forth like that.
Well, not just people with health issues. I'm thinking about our future children, newborns. They have to have water. You can't survive without water.
Yes, so let me explain even further so that you know. I'll break it down even further. The way the state actually tests everything is they look at it in a 70-year cycle. Basically, what they're saying is this: if you drink a gallon of water, okay, 365 days a year, for 70 years, you have a 10% chance of getting cancer. Okay? That's the way that they operate. So based on that, they come up with which is called the maximum contaminant level, okay? So as long as it's below that, we're meeting Title II drinking standards. So if something is not shut down, that means that it meets these standards. Anything that we get a notice or we have to send out that says you got to stop, then we cannot continue to operate that well, and we have to implement treatment process. So to answer your question, more than likely it's meeting Title II drinking standards. Otherwise, it would be shut off.
But that's not something that's not ours, right?
No, the windmill places and all that, we as a municipality, what we do is we regulate, we want to make sure we protect the public from the standpoint that there is no, if they're doing any type of filtration, that there's a backflow prevention device so that it doesn't contaminate our system, okay? But as far as the source and what they're doing, that's different entities regulate that. However, we as a municipality, any water that we deliver to your home, we are responsible.
Okay, and what about the schools? Are the children drinking the good water or what?
The children over there are drinking Title II drinking water, okay? And the schools also, if they want to add other filtration, et cetera, they're more than welcome to do that, okay? Now, again, the water that a lot of these windmill places have, there's a difference in taste. One of the major reasons for it is because we have 1 to 2% residual of chlorine in the water versus they not. And they typically run the water through a carbon filter so that the taste of the chlorine is taken out.
Oh, because one of these dispensers here in town, sometimes when I get water, there's an awful taste to it. And the other one, by Geno's, is good. But by Liberty, it's not. For some reason, I think it needs to be cleaned or something, or replaced.
Yeah, because it's a private entity and it's your choice of whether you want to buy it or not, okay?
Or go without water.
Well, again.
Come on.
The water that you receive at home, ma'am, does meet Title II drinking standards. If you don't like the taste because of the chlorine, you can always add a carbon filter either at the tap or on your home. It's up to you, but it meets Title 22 drinking standards. State.
I'm just thinking of the children for the future, because that's our future.
Yes.
It is. That's it.
Thank you. Do you, Ms. Torres, do you wish to get up there, or do you want us to give you a wireless mic? No, we won't get you recorded. So what we'll do this, we'll just get you a mic right now. Okay? We'll get you a mic right now.
What service?
No, we accommodate. Mr.
Can you
Torres,
hear me
go-
now?
Go ahead, sir.
If we start the meeting at 7 o'clock, you know, we always lay until about 11. You know, so what time is going to be the cutoff time? You know how we start discussing, you know, last meetings I've been to.
Yeah. You know, we have to have a start time. We can't really put an end time, you know. That's for public to decide at whatever number of questions we may have or concerns, you know. You know that. We've been through this before.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, end time is going to be whatever it is, you know, so hopefully we don't need a sleeping bag, you know, but please come. I want to hear from you as well, sir.
Do you guys have an estimated, what is the population here now?
Oh, sounds like you want to be on the census committee.
Yes,
Yay!
we should put you on the
Yeah,
census committee.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about the last meeting. You know, every year typically our municipality grows by about 2%. So right now, the projected, and again, it's all just projected, is probably going to be closer to like about 18,000 is probably the number. But again, we won't know until the actual census takes place.
Anything else, Mr. Torres?
That's good. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Does anybody else? It is open to the public, so please come forward.
Thank you. Gabriel Salazar, 1024 Sunset Court. My question is, I know there were some comments about new information being incorporated into, I'm not sure there's going to be an updated report. I know someone was asking about like other cities in Merced County being incorporated and historical background data, that kind of information being included in the next, is it an updated report or what's that going to look like? Just have a question about that.
Yeah, so we're basically, what we're going to do is we're going to generate that new data because we don't have it like prepared, but we can prepare it. And the public, as of at this moment in time, we do have the full report. So anybody who's interested in looking at the full report and has questions on it, they can access it at City Hall. We can email it. We can print it out for you. We can put it on our USB, whatever you want.
Yeah, why don't we put it also on our website so they can download at their wish?
And is it already on our website? Do we know? Not yet. Okay. Yeah, we were kind of waiting for staff direction, for council direction. So we'll do that. And then the Spanish one and the Punjabi one, because I'm having this translated, will be about mid-March, mid-January, that is.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? If not, I will reclose it to the public. And we already had 4 yeas to move the letter forward. And I will now cast my final vote, and I also vote for aye to give direction to the staff to move forward with putting out letters to the public. And that's the end of that one. And then on number 4, this is a discussion for council input on special events plan for 2020. So, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council. So Jackie Benoit is going to come up, and we just wanted to get a little bit more information from council, especially because it came up at one of our last council meetings. First of all, I just want to let everyone know that we're intimately involved in these 3 events, the Sweet Potato Festival, the Street Fair, and the 4th of July, with the exception that with the 4th of July, we're really not the organizers. We're more of the facilitators, and we help out. And so that is really done by a separate committee. But again, it's something that we support. So we wanted to kind of just touch on these, make some modifications because we had some input from some council, and maybe our public has some input as well. So I guess we can start out with the 4th of July one, since it's the one that's coming up sooner, I guess.
I have been asked by council, what do I,
Jackie, hold on one second. I did have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Valadez. He was going to try to make it out tonight, but I guess he couldn't. But there's going to be a little bit of, they're going to give me some direction as far as whether this is going to be something that the 5150 wants to take on, or if it's still going to be the 4th of July committee. So that's still kind of open, but I just wanted to share that. Go ahead.
okay. So I am here purely tonight to get feedback from you guys, to see what it is, because you guys get to deal with the public, you know, and respond. And so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So the July Festival, the history since 2012, the event has been run by a community group, which Jose was just talking about. The event went from 1 to 3 days. The event has grown to a regional event, not just local. The location is moved from Memorial Park to Max Foster Sports Complex, and the fireworks costs have gone from a $5,000 to $10,000 show to a $20,000 to $30,000 show, maybe more. So we kind of brainstormed some ideas. However, these are only ideas, and you can see we would like your input. So one of the options would be possibly to cut back to 1 day. However, the carnival is basically what pays for the fireworks bill. So if we don't have the event 3 days, the carnival most likely would not come. So the other option, or one of the other ideas, is to find another organization like 5150 to take the event and then just allow them to use our facilities. So do you guys have some input on some other ideas or suggestions?
Yeah, Jackie, what I was really waiting for, and I thought we were going to do this, it was also to look at our mid-year budget, so we'll react and give council a little more idea of what we want. When I asked for this, it wasn't because as a budgetary item as much as that sometimes, like on the Sweet Potato Festival and the 4th of July, the first day is poorly attended. So it was to see if we need to combine. That was the discussion. Is the first day worthwhile or not worthwhile? Is it costing us more than, so that's what I wanted from the council and everybody to give us an input on.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Mayor. One of the things that we were thinking about is we could still have the 3 days, but rather than having activities per se from the city, what can happen is the carnival can take place, but we would just basically have 2 days of activities versus 3 days of activities. So that way we reduce the cost. We also talked about with the chief incorporating more reserves, having more private security, using less city personnel to have to pay overtime. And, again, that pertains more towards the Sweet Potato Festival and the street fair versus the 4th of July, but we still incorporate some of city personnel for that as well.
In regards to the 4th of July festival, it's just, right now it's, for me, it's difficult to have or say any input because we're not sure who's gonna be really taking over the event, if it's gonna be the 4th of July committee or sponsor like 5150. So it's hard for me to really have any input because we don't know, we don't know what the future regarding this event is gonna be. But I mean, just in general terms, I would like to see it, happen, but I think that just needs further discussion.
I just got a text message from Mr. Valadez, and he's basically saying that the Carlos Vieira Foundation is planning on being involved pending a vote at the next board meeting. So sounds like let's see. Yeah, so it looks like the Carlos Vieira Foundation is more than likely going to want to take on this event, so stay tuned. So we'll come back to this item
Yeah, it was more of, we need to have a different plan, because the way it was working right now, I don't think it was working well. City can be on a hook for a lot of things, and we just gotta make sure that what we think is gonna be the first of the, start of the event is where we end up at the end of the event. The city is not liable for things, you know. It was more of that type of discussion as well.
Yes. So our next event is the street fair. So since 2006, the street fair has run in some capacity. It has been a month and for several years, and then it went to 2 months, and then expanded at council's request to 6 months. 2016, it became a certified farmers market, and the wages for market management were paid through USDA grant managed by the Merced County Health Department. The grant ended September 29th, 2019. Over the years, the event has dwindled in size. So street fair ideas, and these are all eliminate the event, cut back to 1 month, preferably in October after the Sweet Potato Festival. 1 month brings eager participation from vendors and entertainment because it's not a long commitment. Also, this community doesn't come out until it gets cooler outside. In October, the weather begins to cool off. If the event is only 1 month, the department can manage it without hardship, and the event could end with a trunk or treat, which is huge. And then I have more blanks for other suggestions.
Council, at your,
Just real quick, this was also discussed, correct, during the Recreation Commission meeting?
Yes.
And so these recommendations are coming out of that, or some of them are?
Some of them are.
Okay.
yeah, for me, I remember when this thing used to be huge. So we need to look into is, why did it shrink? Is it the way it's managed? Is it promoted properly? We don't know what the reason is for, you know, it really, really dwindled. It used to be from one end to the other end, and it used to be a lot. So I don't know who's promoting it, how it's being promoted, how we're getting vendors in, you know, so I don't know if the promoter got changed, if that has something to do with, I don't know. And this is something, is also what we need to know is why, you know, going to 1 month, it may be the only alternative, but if it's based on that it's not promoted properly, then that might be an issue as well. Because I remember, I can't remember the name of the promoters we had that managed it. They used to go out everywhere and bring vendors in, and lately, there is no push or pull to go out and bring the vendors in. It's more of, let us know if you want to be here. If not, oh, that's fine, you know. Before it used to be, go to different events and bring in vendors. And I think that part is not there now.
Yes, I got a question. Since the USDA grant ended, how much would this cost the city employees, the cost-wise, for you to manage it, run it?
We actually have a $5,000 budget remaining for this year. And if we go 6 months, we would have, well, actually, I'd have to look at it exactly.
And I think even eliminating it or leave it up to 4 weeks, that's more than enough. Because I never seen more than 20 people there. It's just a waste of the city's time.
Yeah, Councilmember Gang, when it first got started, we had different promoters. And this thing, I'm not saying that's where it is, but from D Street all the then, it used to be packed with vendors, packed with people. I'm not sure, and Jackie remembers that, of course, Jackie, you know. I'm not sure, so that's what I'm asking, you know, for us to, do we go to a month, or do we try a different promoter, or what do we do, you know?
Back when it started, it was run by Jackie and Patricia Marshall. For the 1 month, they started it because we didn't
Yeah.
offer back then. So that we had a lull in the recreation department, because I volunteered back then. So what had happened, Jackie and Patricia ran it for that month. And what they did is they contacted the community. And
Yes.
we had, and then I hired, when I came on board, we were directed to take it to 2 months. So we
when I mean by promoters, I'm just saying people were going out and bringing people in, you know?
I think,
Well, he's talking about when the Dela Cruzes had it for several
There were
years.
other people that came in also. So what I'm seeing is lately, and I don't know the exact date, and I know, Jackie, you do a great job. I have always had faith. I'm not sure if that effort is still there, or is it that I don't know how it's done anymore. There's a person there, I don't know if they're going out and promoting it or not. I don't know what that effort is right there. So the time that we started to, I can't remember the exact period of time, but there used to be quite a bit of attendance. And if the community doesn't wish it, then Mr. Kang may be absolutely correct, you know?
Well, like Jackie said, she has what, $6,000 in the budget. I mean, if you want to take the challenge and try it for 4 weeks, if it works out, we can continue. Otherwise, 4 weeks end it.
to me, I think this event needs a whole systematic look at and change. I remember when it used to be a lot of attended very well, and there was a lot of more vendors out there. But yeah, throughout the years, especially the past couple of years, it seems like, you know, not a lot of people attend. But the reason I think not a lot of people attend is because there's not enough vendors out there. So what I would like to see, it's a better outreach to getting more vendors out here, promoting it better. But then at the same time, I feel like, you know, this event might linger way too long to keep the interest of the people. I would like to see it. Maybe could we even, just as an idea, maybe once a month for a couple months, for 2, 3, 4 months. I don't know. Maybe maybe the third week, the third Thursday of the month, or something like that might work as well. Spread out and gives you guys more time to do some outreach and promote it better, instead of having it like just 1 month every week.
Yeah, it was more, yeah, thank you. Councilwoman Batista, any comments? Processing, okay. Yeah, you know, I like the street fair. I think it's good for the community and it's good for them to get out. I know some days in August, it can be miserably warm. But I think someday, you know, I remember these people used to have a lot of fun out here.
I agree. I think it's good for the community. I think it brings some people out. I remember when people would come out, you know, and maybe I think somebody just needs to spend more time with the whole fair and really put an effort in doing outreach and maybe connecting with nonprofits, with the schools, maybe, you know, like kind of what you guys been trying to do with the band coming out here and playing and stuff, like doing those
Right,
kind
and
of
when you
events.
have a 1-month commitment, you're gonna get people to do that.
Yeah.
Also, if it goes more than 2 months, it's something that's gonna be out of my hands. We would need to hire somebody and make it clear to them what it is that we want. But I do know that if we want the schools to come out, for instance, the Girl Scouts, I had them coming out doing crafts each week. Well, at 6 months, it about killed them. I mean, it was just way too long for that kind of commitment.
How are you guys outreaching to get vendors out here?
By going to the swap meets. Our focus, because of the grant, was on fruits and vegetables, which there's hurdles and jumps and, you know, so we wound up with 3 regular farmers. If we would have had more than 3, the 3 originally here would probably leave because that wouldn't make it worth their while to, they wouldn't be able to sell enough to stay busy. We had WIC that came out. I mean, it is a whole systematic thing that needs to be looked at. What is our focus? Where do we want to go with it? How often, you know?
Would it work if it's once a month for 3 months, let's say, or 4 months? Would you be able to do that?
As long as we kept it on the same day so that the residents weren't confused about when it was, you know.
There's a recreation commissioner here. What are your thoughts?
Okay, hold on. If you guys gonna talk, I need you to come out so we get you guys on the record. Don't blame me, blame him. He called you, so if you guys wish, we encourage, please come forward. Yeah, come on.
Okay, Linda Deal, President of the Rec Committee. When we discussed it, we discussed either just eliminating it all completely or the 4 weeks and just have it done. And that's what we came up with as a committee. This once a month, we don't think it's gonna fly. Just like with the band, like with the music in the park, it's 4 weeks or 5 weeks? 6 weeks and it's done, and everyone looks forward to it. There's a huge turnout out there. So just like with this, I feel as our committee, we agreed 4 weeks or even 6 weeks if you want to push it 6 weeks, but just this 6 months is not good. It's not productive for the city.
Okay, thank you. You have something to say?
Diego Castillo, P.O. Box 855. From running a flea market, or if I have an experience, these type of events have really high turnover of vendors. And from talking to established flea markets, you probably have 10% of the vendors that do the majority of the business. And when we used to do events at the flea market that we used to run, we would target it on dates where there wouldn't be any other events. So let's just say pick a month where there's not a fair going on, or where you're not competing for your customer base. And I think if you do it too long, you're going to lose traction. And same, like she was saying, if you're going to have food vendors, or if you're going to have whatever type of vendor you're going to have, try to limit to where that vendor is going to be successful. Because if you have 10 food vendors, you'll end up losing them because they won't make enough sales. So that's just my feedback.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please come forward.
Gabriel Salazar again. Oh, let me know where they're, sorry. 1024 Sunset Court. I'd like to maintain and keep that, the farmer's market. I think it's a good venue, good opportunity for folks that don't have the means to access any other fresh fruits or vegetables out in the community. As it is, we live in a disadvantaged community in certain areas, census tracts. So I think it's a good opportunity. Some people, like, maybe they don't have the opportunity to leave town, go to Turlock or Modesto, so this is their fun experience, is going to, like, the street fair farmers market on Thursdays, and something that they look forward to as a family. That's just my thoughts. I mean, I like to keep it, maintain it. Of course, as you know, the economics matter. Like, folks, I mean, I defer to the Parks and Rec Commission, like what they say, but I mean, I think if it's organized and planned and coordinated and promoted properly, it could probably be once a week, like the gentleman just said earlier. A day, you target a day that is not used widely in other communities, a designated farmers market day. But yeah, I'd just like to see it, move forward, and hopefully we could maintain it. But I mean, the economics matters, and staff time and resources matter. So let's see what we could do. And it's cool that staff's here making this presentation, trying to look for creative and innovative ways to continue it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Jose Moran, Livingston, California. From previous experiences, I think that there's a couple of different factors that are very important. One of the main things about this event is to try and bring out the community. I don't think that so far we're looking to attract people from outside, but actually doing it for our people in the community, for them to actually, most people that come out to those events is people that just want to come out and walk out and talk to people and see people that they haven't seen for a week or 2 weeks or so on. It's not so much, do we get high quality? I mean, it's just to come out, have some fast food, some churros, some fruit, some fresh fruit and stuff like that, and not so much like the high quality stuff that you might find like some high market stores, And I think that, yes, probably 6 months, it's a little bit too long, but maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months, once a week, same day, making sure there's no other events in the area where our people might want to go, And if we can have entertainment like we used to have entertainment, different type of entertainment, not necessarily someone just playing music, but like other cities have done it, like having the fire department do some demonstration, then PD do another demonstration, and making those informational showcases, maybe bring someone from the county and do something else. And those are some of the things that I've seen that are very successful at other farmers market, and they're not necessarily farmers market, they're just street fairs, without any restrictions. But at the same time, you also want to have 1, 2, or 3 people selling the same item. That way, like people were saying, just make sure that is convenient for them to come out here, and it's not so much they're not able to make a lot of profit. And I cannot compromise myself to help out every single week, but I'll be more than willing to help out every now and then with this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Anybody else?
The Mayor and Council, I was here in 2012, and I just want to kind of back to the 4th of July. I remember when it was downtown. The one thing that I think it's a great place where it's at now, because we talked about downtown, and I know the one thing that we struggle with is the Pentecost Hall has their same event, usually that same weekend, and they have a parade, and we struggled with trying to manage both at the same time. It became an issue. Once they moved, it took care of that, and so we appreciated that. As far as the street fair, and also, if you looked at 5150, they've promoted a few events out there. They're professional promoters. They do a great job, and I have all the confidence that Carlos Vieira and Julio Valadez would do just a fabulous job if their board decided to take that on. I think they do a great job, and we'd be happy to be partnering with them to provide safety for that event. As far as the street fair, I think you lost a little bit because I was here again when it was shorter. It was kind of quality versus quantity. The longer it got, it seemed like people kind of got tired of the same old thing and stopped. You lost the interest of some of the communities. So if you keep it short, pack it with events. And one thing I was telling our city manager and Jackie, when you think of a street fair, have something that you can attract the kids, whether it's a little ride, little train, little slide, something that attracts the kids to come, and they're going to drag their parents out there. Also, the city manager has a lot of contacts with artists. Have like a little character booth where a budding artist from college can come and do little artist renditions, characters of the kids and things like that. Something to draw those kids out there, because they're the ones that we want to kind of give them those memories of coming downtown Livingston and having fun and eating a corn dog and riding a slide or something like that. But if you condense it down to kind of a shorter period, which is a little bit more manageable, and you're going to get a lot more people coming that want to come downtown. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, like Jackie said, the grant ran out. So if we keep continuing more than 4 weeks, we're gonna have to pull money out of our general fund. The whole goal is to save 10%, not to add extra 20%. So we gotta look at that before the grant paid for everything. Now, starting next year, we're gonna have to pay out of our funds.
Okay. So what is your suggestion, sir?
4 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. We are going to bring this up for another time. We're just kind of getting started, okay? So, okay, Jackie, continue, please.
Okay. And our last event is the Sweet Potato Festival. So, years ago, the Sweet Potato Council and farmers held a yamboree. I'm not sure when it started or when it ended, but it deposited the seed of the event into the community. So in 2012, it was the city's first Sweet Potato Festival, and they joined forces with the 4th of July in Memorial Park, and it's been running ever since. The event caters to the local community. So the event ran 2013 through 16 for 3 days, and in 2017 it ran 2 days, and 18 and 19, it went back to 3 days. Traditionally, the event has almost broke even, as in we have brought in almost as much as we've spent. So Sweet Potato Ideas cut the program to 2 days and integrate the entertainment and allow the carnival to run 3 to 4 days if they want to, which is something that we kind of already were discussing earlier. And then lots of ideas.
Council?
I know this was brought up and discussed during the Recreation Commission, and that was something that was discussed, just bring it down to 2 days. Because, you know, as seen in previous years, on Fridays, the Friday specifically, it's not very well attended, and it's hard for staff to get set up, and everybody, you know, kind of running around, just getting ready for that evening. So it kind of gives staff, the city, more time to get ready for the event and just go on for the weekend. So that would be my input. I think we had a good discussion, the Rec Commission. That I think that'll be good. Do you remember in 2017 when it was for the 2-day event? How did it go?
It was, I mean, it was well attended on the 2 days, and like you said, Friday it's always been low, so we didn't really. I don't.
So you think it was good the way with the 2 days in 2017 compared to other years?
It was. I mean, it was well attended. The exact numbers I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Councilwoman Batista, any?
I am truly in support of all these community events, but the one thing that I want to just to put out there as a community volunteer, and for many of us that already put in our time, again, that's volunteerism. If we want our community to participate in these events, we've got to get them involved in more ways than just, we need help. These committees and the staffing of the city, again, this can't be done without the help of the community, and that's the one way we're gonna get the buy-in from our communities to support these events. We want them, we don't want them to go away, and the Jamboree, oh my gosh, I went to that when I was 4. And the 4th of July, when it was held in Memorial Park, I remember going to that as a child. I still speak of them, and that's why I still continue to volunteer. And what we put into it is what we're going to get out of it. If we can't put in the hard work, and we were depending on Public Works, we're depending on many of our resources and the reserves and the grants, yes, that all helps, but when it comes right down to it, we need our folks to come out and support it. Not just by attending it well, but we need the hard work that's put into these, starting from all the way from the planning. Again, these ideas, and we don't want to. We spend time on our, they're here. Water and the rates. Of course, everything that makes a city thrive. Needs to be well attended, and people need to come out and voice their opinions on how they want them. Because again, like Lisa, like how she said, if you're gonna make a recommendation, hey, back it up, come. And again, she did. Something happened, and we can't do that we can't make these decisions based on what we know about them. We want to know what you, as a community, want. And I know that you want the 4th of July. I know you want the farmers market or the street fair. I know you want trunk or treat. I know you want the Sweet Potato Festival. But we also need your help. And monetary, all the way down to set up, to clean up, to planning, organization. And that's the only way it's going to work. We need more input. We need more help. And again, that's bringing out the community and making sure that you support these events. Just not on day 1, day 2, all the way. If these things are going to be put into place, so these ideas, bringing it down from a 6-month event, and, you know, we've seen that, you've shown us how the records have, you know, the year by year, and again, that's support of the community, coming out and being there, and then helping and stepping up to volunteer. So again, there's plenty of ideas, and, you know, I want to share them, but you know, tonight is not my turn to do this. There's other times, but having the community come out and share their ideas and support those ideas and be there.
I'm sorry, it is now closed to, okay, so, anything else? Okay, this was just a preliminary discussion. There was no decision being made today. I wanted to get the conversation going. We will be bringing this back, Jackie, and we'll give you input and, you know, some ideas, and maybe the Recreation Commission can weigh in with some items. But Councilwoman Baptista is absolutely correct. We could definitely use more help, volunteers, you know. It's like, when you go to these events, it's the same, I don't want to say same old faces, but it's always the same folks that are always participating in everything. We can definitely, if we can get another 2%, we would have more volunteers we know what to do with, but it's difficult. And we do have very limited number of staff, but they are very capable, but they can also definitely use more help. And I've always been very appreciative of everything the Recreation does do, you know, so.
Yeah, just one last comment, Mayor, on my behalf, is we're going to be reaching out to the Sweet Potato Council to get them incorporate, you know, figure out a way to get them involved in our Sweet Potato Council, because we need them. I mean, the whole reason we're doing this is because of our Sweet Potato footprint. So we will be doing that. We also have come up with some really good cost-saving measures, again, as I mentioned, trying to cut down on the overtime, using some more volunteers. That would certainly help a lot, Councilwoman, and looking at bringing in some other partners.
Thank you. I'm not sure how the rest of the council feels, but I would definitely like to have it bring back from staff on the suggestions and ideas in February. Doesn't mean we're going to make a final decision, but maybe we can move forward and try to see how we can give final direction to the city of what we'd like to see as a council. Okay? Council, any further business? If not, remember, there is no meeting on January 7th. We will have those workshops. Please attend. And with that, we are in adjournment. Thank you.